Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Not content with just having £1 billion at least black hole in their own finances at a national level, probably nearer 2 billion, the S&P have overseen a £750 million, so therefore well over £1 billion, black hole in council tax budgets. This is because they literally can't count. They've got as their finance minister a woman with an IQ of 86 who really doesn't understand how money works, how budgeting works, or how people in councils need cash for day-to-day stuff. They seem to think that councils exist on, I don't know, pixie dust or something. They don't understand. They don't understand inflation. They don't understand growth. They understand nothing. And thus these councils are, what they're claiming is 780 million in debt. But actually, it's going to be well over £1 billion when all is said and done. And it is a governmental issue. It was, after all, Shona Robinson who cut budgets in every single department except independence. The only department of government that got a real terms increase. Who else is there to blame? They can't blame Westminster, not when they're pissing money away on independence and not funding anything else. Let's have a look to see why Shona is overseeing yet another huge, massive black hole in finances, and it's all her fault. Here goes. So SNP blamed as councils face a £780 million black hole, which could lead to massive tax rises again and more service cuts. Now, the very fact that they're coming out and saying, oh, it's 780 million means they're trying their best to make it less than £1 billion, because it will be over £1 billion. And there she is. Look at her. The brains trust. Just look at that face. That is not the face of anyone with even the flickering of a candle behind it. There's no intelligence in there at all. It's a woman well out of her depth, incapable, I think, of even cogent thought, let alone the complexities of multiple sort of economic factors that have to be taken into consideration. Certainly not someone who could do even sort of basic mathematics, you know. Scottish Government Finance Secretary Shona Robinson blamed Westminster, because of course, for the cash crisis, even though they have just had the biggest settlement in history. And they did spend millions upon millions on independence and didn't spend anything else anywhere else. Oh yes, 45 million on slowing the traffic down. 40 million, wasn't it, on bicycle lanes that they've done. While they were busy painting all the bicycle lanes, they could have, filling potholes, but no. But of course, it's always Westminster's fault, because that's the only hammer they have, isn't it? What are you going to do? Bang the drum, Westminster's fault. Okay. Why is it raining? Westminster's fault. I've lost my shoe. Westminster's fault. That's all they have. And in fact, they've called it out as Westminster's fault so many times, even their own supporters now know that it isn't Westminster's fault. It can't be all Westminster's fault. None of it. It's Shona Robinson's fault. She's the one who can't count. Really, Humza Yousaf's fault. He's the one that put the moron in finance in the first place. Hey, Shona, can you count? No. Great, you're in charge of finance. Okay. Honestly, she comes into town riding a donkey and you're wondering which one's the bigger donkey. The Scottish Government has been blamed for the bleak picture facing cash-strapped councils who have to deal with a huge budget black hole of 585 million in the next year, and a public finance expert have warned this will rise to 780 million within a couple of years. It means that already struggling Scots could be hit with more increases in council tax frozen this year by SNP ministers, but it will mean a double hit next year, because this is how much council tax they need. This is how much they need next year. Into this year coming. They've frozen it there and the government have paid the difference, or mostly. But next year they're going to start at this level and then go, but now we need the increase to here. So that means a double hitter of a rise next year. 10, 11, 12% next year. Because the genius that is Humza Yousaf forgets that he isn't a genius, he's a knob. And he forgets that there is a future and it has to be paid for, because the guy is thank God he's gone, but none of them are bright. You can't do it. You do piecemeal increases. It's easier. Don't go in, look, big 20% council tax hike. There will be riots, and it's going to happen. And especially now, as the only way they're going to pay all this extra $1.5 billion over the next 2 years is going to go taxes up, council tax up, over and above any planned rises. Seriously, guys, you're looking at a 20% increase at the same time as they're putting income tax up, and you're cutting services. So you're paying more and more, getting less and less, and you've got nothing to do about it because you keep voting these people in. And I hope that those in the SNP, not in the SNP, the SNP voters, who sit there and watch their services get cut and watch their council tax go up, don't believe that it's Westminster's fault. Look to your own government. Look to who you've voted in and went, yeah, I'm starting to see it now. Oh, Fox is right, isn't it? They are. They are a complete bunch of utter fucking retards. Anyway, Accounts Commission publication into council budgets found that funding remained constrained despite a 5.7% real terms increase from the Scottish Government's 2024-25 allocation. That's only a temporary. That part of that increase that they're talking real term was actually that how can we put it, bribe to freeze council tax. So it doesn't really count. Anyway, town halls were allocated 13.25 billion plus an added 144 million to fund the council tax freeze. And then an additional 63 million as a bribe for doing it. 200 million. They cut the social housing budget by 200 million. They bribed the councils with 200 million. Where would they have spent that social budget? In the councils. The councils got exactly what they would have got, but they pretended it was a bribe. And now the councils are going, we're fucked. Right. The watchdog stated that local authorities were still struggling. Of course they are, and will continue to do so, as the intended cash was ring-fenced by the government. They would also need to go towards pay deals, and this difference between expenditure and income and the funding they receive is set to rise by £780 million. It's Mr. McCorber, isn't it? Income, 20 shillings. Expenditure, £780 million. Result, misery. But I'm sure something will turn up. It has led to calls for the government to find a long-term solution to the crisis. Easy. Resign. Have an election. Put someone else in. Put someone in charge of finance who's brighter than my schnauzer. I haven't got one at the moment. Cosler Resources spokeswoman Katie Hagman, who is also an SNP councillor, said it is vitally important that these concerns, which have been consistently raised by Cosler leaders, are now backed up by evidence presented by the Accounts Commission. That's the own government department. Are acted upon for the sake of Scotland's public services and our communities who rely on them. They've been highlighted, they've been looked at, and they'll be ignored. They literally haven't got the cash. Not when they're spending it on foreign embassies, not when they're sending Angus around the world, not when they're getting Greggs delivered by the boatload. Unbelievable, these people. How on earth they go through life unable to do it. The reality right now for councils, they said, has never been more challenging. The real effect of real terms cuts to more core budgets has been compounded by additional policy commitments and less flexibility in how we allocate. That less flexibility is what I've been saying. They're centralising power. Monolithic. They don't trust the councils. Instead of giving the council, there's your allocation, go spend it, look after your own community. It's like, no, we will have the money, we'll give you some, but you've got to spend it on that. Here's some money, but you've got to spend it on that. Here's some money, you've got to spend it on that. And so forth. And so they're micromanaging the councils. They're creating this power base that everything is controlled from the core, and they don't trust the local authorities. Because, the local authorities might spend it on things that people need, God forbid, instead of spending it on independence drives. And that's what happens. And this is because the SNP voters want it that way. They get the horn on for it. They love poverty. They love misery. That's why they keep voting for the SNP. Scottish Tory local government and finance spokeswoman Liz Smith described the report as damning and stated it exposes the eye-watering funded gap facing Scotland's councils. Years of savage and sustained cuts have been passed down by the SNP to local authorities. I'm going to give you an example here of the sheer hypocrisy. Imagine if Westminster handed over the money to the SNP government, and said, right, here's £46 billion. You must spend £1 billion on this. You must spend £2 billion on that. This bit here has got to be ring fenced for that. And you've got to spend it. They would go mad. Go, no. It's our money. We won't tell you what to spend it on. Right? You're not having that. And they'd be up in arms over it. And yet they're doing exactly that to the councils. You must spend it on this. Blah, 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 blah. Councils just need to ignore them and go, thank you very much for the money. Off. We'll spend it where we see it. And screw the government. Screw the SNP. The councillors need to start acting for the people who represent them, not act as the political wing of their own government, not the local branch of their own government. They're not employed by the government. They're employed by the taxpayers in their area, the council taxpayers, their constituents. Don't act in the government's interests. Act in your constituents' interest. If the government give you money and say, well, look, we're giving an extra $1 million, but it's got to go on that. And you go, oh, thank you very much, nod sagely, and then tell them to FRO and spend it on exactly what you want. And what are they going to do? Take you to court? Good luck. Anyway, I'll round up and come up. It must be sad being Shona Robinson. I mean, you must get up every morning, look in the mirror and realise that you are really that dumb, and yet you're going to do a job for which you have no experience, no knowledge, no ability. You know everybody knows this. You're standing there pretending to do this very important job and pretending to be efficient when everybody in that room looks at you and goes, you're retarded. You literally are the dumbest thing in this room. There is a fire extinguisher over there that does a far better job than you do. Look at that chair you're sitting on. It's made of wood. The tree that came from. More intelligent than you. That's how she is. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows the woman is a moron. Why is she still in her job? One only has to look around at Scotland to see, yeah, that's screwed, that's underfunded. What the hell? You know. And it's all down to Shona Robinson and her inability to do hard sums. Anyway, if the SNP keep voting for her, what can you do? What can you do? It's morons voting for morons. I'll stop. Thank you very much for watching. Do please keep an eye out for the next video. Please hit the subscribe button. We are really close now. We're like, 20 away at the time of recording this. We'll get to 16,000. Always like clicking over 1,000. Looks good. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.